Welcome to episode 8 of True Crime and Sims. We're going to play a little Sims while learning about a historic true crime case. Today we're going to be talking about the mysterious disappearance of Da Vinci's most famous lady. Before we get into the case, let's catch up on what's going on with our Sims. In this episode, Clara and Kyle are going to be doing some minor remodeling to their house. Now that they have a little bit of money, they can afford some slightly nicer things. They are also going to be having their second baby in this episode. If you want, you can try and guess what you think they're going to have. Is it going to be a girl? Is it going to be a boy? And you can let me know in the comments if you guessed correctly. Now let's get back to the case. Today, the Mona Lisa is one of the most famous paintings in the world. That wasn't always the case. Once upon a time, the Mona Lisa was just another painting hanging in one of Europe's most prominent museums. Currently, the Mona Lisa is one of the most valuable paintings. The painting is insured for millions. If you've ever wondered how the Mona Lisa became so famous in the first place, you've clicked on the right video. This case is believed to have been one of the leading contributing factors to the Mona Lisa gaining so much prominence and fame. The lady depicted in the painting was said to have been named Lisa. It's thought that the painting was commissioned by the lady's husband. The word Mona can roughly be translated into English as Miss, or Ma'am, or Madam. Leonardo originally painted the painting in 1507, but it didn't achieve fame until much later. In the late 1800s, certain circles began to view the painting as a true masterpiece. However, this event that made the painting truly famous didn't occur until 1911. On August 21st, 1911, the Mona Lisa disappeared. Surprisingly, the theft wasn't noticed immediately. According to some scholars, it took up to 24 hours before anyone missed the notorious painting. Whoever took the painting left behind nothing but the hooks the painting had once rested on. The bare place went unnoticed, at least at first. An American newspaper reporting the loss of the then somewhat unknown painting would accidentally use an image of Botticelli's Birth of Venus in the article. It would take 2 years before the Mona Lisa was returned to the Louvre. Upon its return, the painting would then be a household name. Doing my best to pronounce this name, Vincenzo Peruggia was an Italian artist who spent some time living in France. Reportedly at the time, the French were a bit xenophobic towards the Italian. There were a lot of Italian immigrants living in France at the time. Vincenzo was just one of many, but it's said he grew tired of how he was treated by the French. When Vincenzo began working at the Louvre, he noticed that a lot of the paintings there had been painted in Italy or created by Italian artists. It's said that he asked how this artwork wound up in France. In reply to his questions, he learned that a lot of Italian artwork had been appropriated by Napoleon. Upon learning this fact, it's said that he became enraged. When the Mona Lisa went missing, many wondered how the painting was successfully smuggled out of the museum. It's worth noting that the Mona Lisa is painted on a piece of wood. If it had been on canvas, it would have been quite easy to roll the painting up and maybe hide it under a pants leg or something. But how do you smuggle out a solid piece of wood? The police had a theory. They assumed that the culprit had stayed in the museum overnight and made off with the painting. The day that the painting was discovered missing, the Louvre was actually closed to the general public. However, according to Vincenzo, who as you may have guessed was the person who took the painting, on August 21st, 1911, at 7 a.m., he simply entered the Louvre. Though the museum was closed to the general public, he had worked in the museum. He knew how most of the museum staff dressed, so he dressed similarly. Over his normal clothes, he put on a white smock. So he was basically wearing the uniform of the museum staff when he wandered in. No one seemed to recognize that he wasn't just another normal museum worker, and if he had been recognized, he had technically worked there before. From there, he made his way to the Mona Lisa. He took down the painting and moved it to a separate location within the museum, where he removed the case and frame. He took off his white smock and wrapped the painting in the garment. He then walked out of the museum using the same door in which he had entered. Vincenzo then hid the painting in his tiny Parisian apartment. After 2 years of hiding it, he decided to return the painting to Italy. He kept the painting in his Florence apartment for a short time before showing it to a man named Mario Fratelli. Mario owned an art gallery in Florence. Mario called in an expert named Giovanni Poggi to authenticate the painting. Mario and Giovanni offered to take the painting for safekeeping, and Vincenzo agreed. Though according to Mario, Vincenzo hoped he would receive a major payout for his part in returning the Mona Lisa to Italy. Once Vincenzo left the painting in their care, Mario and Giovanni immediately contacted the police. The police then arrested Vincenzo. The Mona Lisa toured around Italy before being sent back to France. The Italians were reportedly very happy and patriotic towards seeing the Italian masterpiece back in her homeland, even if it was for a very brief amount of time. When the painting returned to France, it experienced an uptick in interest. The newspaper headlines and police investigation had drummed up a new level of fame for the painting. Suddenly, everyone knew about the Mona Lisa, and it was a fame that would never die. Vincenzo would claim that he stole the painting for patriotic reasons. He stated that he wanted to see the painting returned to Italian hands. He blamed the actions of Napoleon for his crime, stating that the French had stolen the painting to begin with. There are two problems with this explanation. Firstly, Vincenzo tried to profit from his theft. In a letter to his father written shortly after the theft, he claimed that he had found a way to make a fortune. When he returned to Italy with the painting, he didn't try to donate it to a museum. Instead, he took the missing painting to an art dealer and tried to make money. Secondly, though Vincenzo claimed the painting had been stolen by Napoleon, he was wrong. Roughly 250 years before Napoleon was born, Leonardo himself had gifted the painting to France's king. The patriotic motive seemed to work in Italy, however. Vincenzo would serve very little to no jail time for his crime, though his theft would see him permanently banned from France. A ban that wouldn't quite mean anything. Shortly after his arrest, Vincenzo went to fight in World War I. He was captured by Austria-Hungary and held until the end of the war 2 years later. He would marry, have a daughter, and return to France, despite being banned. Once in France, he worked in the art industry under the name Pietro Berguria. At the age of 44, he died in France. Oddly enough, if it weren't for the actions of Vincenzo, the Mona Lisa might have remained somewhat obscure. The crime that saw her removed from her home is likely the very thing that gave her fame. If it weren't for this crime, it's entirely possible that Leonardo da Vinci might not be the household name that he is today. The actions of an art thief seem to secure this Renaissance man's place in history. Can I just say really quickly, and I know this is a little bit late considering where we are in the video, but Clara just went out on a date. She's married and has a kid. She just went on a date with a guy she barely knows. I've never seen this happen when I've been playing Sims before, that one of my characters would just randomly go on a date. And I think I agreed to go on it, but I was not really paying attention to what the thing said. I thought it was just somebody who wanted to talk to her, on the phone, a friend of hers or something. But no, apparently it was some guy asking her out on a date. I really hope this doesn't mess things up between Clara and Kyle, because I don't want to go through any kind of drama or have to fix it, because that is not part of the plan I have for these episodes and this gameplay. I've never seen that happen. That was strange. On a completely unrelated side note, it does kind of make me think, there was once when I was 12, I accidentally agreed to go on a date with a guy. I wasn't really paying attention to what he was saying. Yeah, not my finest moment, I guess. But kind of a funny story, though it is kind of a brief story. And to be completely fair, I wasn't married at the time, because, I was 12. But I'm genuinely curious to know if any of you had ever heard of this case before. I think this one's a little bit more obscure than some of the past cases I've covered in these episodes. I first found out about it from a documentary. I think I saw it on Netflix. I'm not sure if it's still on there, but it's worth watching if it is. They go a little bit into more detail than I do. The last few cases I've covered have been really sad, and the one I'm doing next is also pretty sad. So it was kind of nice to sort of take a break and do something that wasn't quite as heavy. Nobody dies horrifically in this episode. It's just about a guy who's trying to get a little bit of extra cash by stealing what is now one of the world's most famous paintings. And it's kind of funny to me that he could just walk out of the museum with the painting on a day when they were closed. Like, that could never happen today. The Mona Lisa is probably one of the most guarded paintings in the world today. So it's just strange to think that once upon a time, some guy just like walked into the Louvre and walked out of it, and nobody even noticed for like a day. So back to The Sims. Here we have Clara going to the hospital, finally about to give birth to that second baby. I guess now is your last chance to guess if you think it's going to be a Scott or a Whitney this time around. And there we go. It's another boy. I'm kind of surprised it's a boy. For a long time, anytime I had a baby on The Sims 3, it was always a girl. That's why I guessed girl last time, and that's why I was kind of thinking girl this time, because for the longest time, it was just like every single time a Sim had a baby, it was a girl. It was never a boy. So I'm kind of surprised. I was actually starting to think the game was glitchy, that it was just only giving out girls. Of course, that was on my old computer, and my Sims game used to glitch all the time on that computer, so it could have very well have been a glitch. And I'm not saying that having a girl is a bad thing. Believe me, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying it felt like all the random chance in the game of having a boy or having a girl was taken away, and that kind of ruined the fun a little bit for me, because I like trying to figure out, or I like trying to guess if it's going to be a girl or a boy, and coming up with fun names, and just being genuinely surprised by which we're having. Please like, subscribe, and share, and as always, thank you for watching.